Hi guys, welcome back to the fall course. Today we're going to be talking about energy, and I have all of the technical definitions on the screen, but I'm going to be talking about the practical application of this. So it's really important to know approximately your dog's energy requirements, and that's because how much energy they can take in to maintain optimal weight or whatever your goal is for their weight is the parameter you have to work with to get the essential nutrients in. So for example, if you have a dog that has very low energy, you still have to support the entire dog. And so you want to make sure you have a lower energy density and get all of the essential nutrients in. If you have a dog that's very high activity, you want to make sure you're providing enough energy to support that state. Of course, different life stages will affect the energy requirements. We're going to be only talking about adult dogs in this video, but obviously growth diets or lactation diets will indicate higher energy requirements. And there's other things that also affect energy requirements, such as I mentioned before, age. So older dogs tend to require less energy. The environment, so colder environments may indicate increasing the energy intake. Stress can certainly affect it. Exercise, of course, overall activity, and even some differences between, breed to breed. Whether the dog is spayed or neutered can also affect their energy requirements, where spayed and neutered animals typically have lower energy requirements. So you could certainly use a calculator to calculate your dog's energy requirements, but the best way, in my opinion, to figure out the energy requirements is to simply look at what was being fed before. So if you use the calculator and you find that it's giving you a caloric goal that's just totally off base with what you've been feeding and if what you've been feeding is working, then obviously you should go with what has worked in the past. If you're feeding commercial food, you can simply look at how many calories are in the food and how much you're feeding and go off of that. It might be a little bit confusing if you're feeding a commercial pre-made raw that doesn't use nutrient requirements. They don't list the energy density. For that's where a calculator might be useful. If you're feeding DIY, we'll get into auditing the diet and figuring out how many calories your dog has been eating. So this will be especially useful if you switch your dog to raw and for some reason they're losing weight or they're gaining weight. Perhaps we've purchased really high fat ingredients, and so the energy density of the diet is way too high, so then we have to keep reducing the diet. But when you do that, you're also reducing the nutrient intake, so that's something to keep in mind. So if you are going to use the calculator, then there's going to be numbers to pick from. We typically do the metabolic weight multiplied by a number between 90 and 130. And there's instances where you go outside of this range. If you have a dog that's recovering from injury and they're really not moving very much, you would go below 90. When using the calculator, whatever number you multiply by, the lower you go, obviously the lower amount of calories, and the higher you go, the higher caloric goal. And again, the eating history is going to be much more accurate than the estimation of a calculator online. So while energy in and energy out is still an important concept, where the energy is coming from is also important. If you have a dog that's eating kibble, which tends to be higher in carbohydrate, you might find that they can eat more calories on a raw diet that's lower carbohydrate than they could with kibble. And so if you want to go above and beyond in this section, you can look at the amount of fat, protein, and carbs your dog was eating and see how that's working for them when you look at their energy intake. For this unit, what you want to pull away from this is assessing the eating history of the dog and deciding if that is working for your dog or if it needs to be adjusted, whether your dog is overweight or your dog is underweight, or perhaps their activity level is going to be increasing or decreasing.